Where did you grow up?
Down the South Valley in Atrisco on 1703 Gonzales Road Northwest.
And what does Atrisco refer to?
It's,
That's a land grant, isn't it?
well, yeah, there was an Atrisco land grant, but Atrisco is just an area, kind of like
A neighborhood.
Armijo or Sawmill, and places like that were little areas where 5 Points, little areas like that, they just named them. But Atrisco, the whole area there was an Atrisco land grant, and it runs from First Street all the way to the Rio Puerto.
Oh, wow.
And that's been sold. We all had so many shares that were given to, my father had so many shares, and it was divided amongst them when the property was sold. But the mineral rights, I still have a deed for the mineral rights.
Oh, cool.
So,
And so how did your parents end up in the South Valley? Do you know?
not really. They were all born down there. My grandfather, Tránsito, I think he died at 92, and he owned a lot of the land down there on Gonzales Road, and he gave my dad certain amounts of property there, and then the rest of my brothers lived there down there when they got married and moved away from the house, and so they were down there. I didn't even remember where my mom. My mom was descended from. Her descendants were from France.
Oh.
And they were from Archibeka was her.
Oh.
Archibek was her last maiden name. Okay, and Tránsito was my grandfather on my dad's side. Now I never knew my grandfather or my aunt. No, I never knew my grandma, my mom, on my dad's side, and I never knew my grandpa on my mother's side, and my grandpa or grandma on my mother's side, and they had already passed when I was born. I was in 1936, and so I don't know too much about where they came from, or really. I know the Candelaria family came from Spain. That's where my dad's family came from.
I think that and I could be totally wrong about this, but I think the Archibeka came from an expedition that got shipwrecked down by like Galveston, and there were two Frenchmen on there that survived, and they sort of made their way. They joined or they were forced to join, I don't know, a tribe, indigenous tribe down there, and got tattooed and all that. And then somehow they got rescued back or ended up in New Mexico and were accepted into the Hispano community. And so then their names got changed into like more Spanish type sounding or whatever. But the really interesting history.
You know
so
more
that's
than
cool.
I do.
So that was your mom's maiden name?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, her name was Rosa Archibeke.
And you don't know, was she born in the valley?
She was. I'm pretty sure she was, and she was born in 1886, and my dad was born in 1890s. No, my dad was born in 1895, something right around that time frame, or 1885.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So back then, if they were born there, that's.
Yeah, it's it goes way back.
Yeah, they must. Well, I guess your dad must have, because his father already owned land
Well,
there.
yeah. I know that my grandfather Transito on my dad's side, that house where he was born is over 200 years old
Wow.
and it's still standing.
Still standing.
Yeah, and they're going to renovate it, so it's a well-built house.
And is that the one that you were able to go tour?
Yes, we got to tour, and I remember very little of it, but that was, we were just little kids, not even teenagers when we used to go babysit my grandpa.
So you say babysit, did he have dementia
Yeah.
or?
No, someone just, he was, that was when he started getting a little, I don't remember, they didn't want him to be alone
Yeah.
in the house by himself.
Yeah, I wonder about that, because I'm caring for elderly parents, and I always wonder, how did that, because I know that, in our Hispano families, usually the grandparents would stay with the family or live with the family, and the grandkids would help take care of them and all that. But some of it's really difficult, really challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, my Aunt Amelia, who was my grandfather's, my father's sister, she lived with my grandpa. So she took care. She was a school teacher at Atrisco Elementary, which is on the Atrisco Road, south of south side of Albuquerque, about a mile from where we lived.
So she took care of him, and
She
then
took care of
and
grandpa.
then you all came when she needed a
And
break.
then whenever she wanted to go on a date or out someplace, we were volunteered by my dad to go and stay with my grandpa.
Okay. So what did you learn from him? What was he like?
Oh, I don't really remember too very much of him. Like I said, we're little, other than we just sit out on the porch and with him in the backyard during the day or whenever we were there, and then when he'd go to bed, we'd just stay in the house after he went to bed. That's basically all I remember of him. He'd sit there and tell us about stories about Billy the Kid and some of these other, he'd tell us little stories like that. But for me to remember that was many moons ago.
Yeah, well, and also, you hear that all the time, that you heard these stories when you were little, but at the time it didn't mean anything to you. So you didn't.
Had no idea what a lot of this was. So I don't know. Yeah, but
Interesting. I wonder where he came from, that he had Billy the Kid stories and stuff like
oh
that.
well, Billy the Kid traveled all over.
That's true.
So he was always around, and he knew a lot of them. I can't remember the one that sticks in my mind is Billy the Kid, but he knew quite a few other ones, but I can't remember who they were. The old pea brain doesn't work like it used to.
Right. Was he very religious?
And my grandpa, no, not that I remember. We went to church every Sunday and all holy days. I was an altar boy at our church in Atrisco. My brother James and myself, because him and I were only a year apart. I was born he was born in 35. I was born in 36, so we were just a year apart.
So did your grandfather only speak Spanish?
No, he spoke some English, not very
okay.
much, but we did. And my parents spoke mostly Spanish, but they spoke English, not fluently like we do. And my sister, her name was Rafaelita, but we called her Ayala. Everybody called her Ayala. She was the firstborn, and she used to make us speak English at the dinner table, so we'd learn how to speak English properly. So, and she lived till she was 94.
Oh, wow.
She passed away. She had a stroke and passed away. I can't remember the exact.
So otherwise, you all spoke Spanish?
Oh yeah, we all
home?
spoke at home. All of us spoke Spanish.
Oh, okay. So your Spanish is still really good?
I speak it fluently. I don't read or write it fluent. I don't never got into. I took Spanish in high school, which is completely different Spanish than what we know.
Yes.
And so, but no, I just never followed through on it. And as I grew up, I just kind of got away from the Spanish and became a gringo.
Yeah. Did you and your wife speak Spanish together?
Terry spoke very little Spanish, but
Oh.
we'd talk. She would not speak it very good, but she understood it all.
Mm.
But she didn't speak Spanish much. When she was growing up, they didn't speak much Spanish. Her sisters, I guess, used to make her speak English mostly.
Mm.
So,
Because where was Terry in the line of all the siblings?
Terry was the youngest of the girls.
Oh, okay.
Margaret had leukemia when she was young, and she died at I think about 2.5 when she passed
She's
away.
the cute little girl in the photo.
The picture right over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Margaret. You can see she wasn't smiling like Terry was, and she was already sick at that time. And in those days, didn't know what leukemia was really. So.
Did she die in Clayton?
Yeah, she died in Clayton.
So go ahead.
Terry moved out of Clayton. Terry's family moved out of Clayton when Terry was 5. So they moved up to Albuquerque here.
So she had plenty of older siblings to keep her in line.
Oh, yeah.
So how did you meet Terry?
We went to school together. We actually went to junior high together, and then we went to Albuquerque High, and we both graduated in 1955, and but we never dated or anything. And I went into the service for 4 years, and when I came out, my brother James and myself and a friend of his, we went to the fiestas in Santa Fe, and we ran into Terry and a couple of her girlfriends, so we chased them all over the city and hung out with them. And then I got Terry's number. I started calling her, and a year later we got married. 11 months later, really. We were married July 1st of 1960.
Wow.
And she passed away on March the 12th of 2019.
So you knew Spanish growing up, but then you had to take it in school in the Valley, right? And I would assume that all the other kids also spoke more like you spoke Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
But then they were trying to teach you this other kind of Spanish in school. What was that like?
Yeah, the Castilian Spanish, is completely different than when you're trying to figure out what they're talking about. And it's kind of different, just very. It was hard for me to grasp it. My brother James and I both had trouble grasping the Castilian Spanish from school. So for some reason, I don't know. I can't really say why.
Well, it would be weird if you grew up speaking Spanish fluently and your whole community did, and then they're saying, no, that's wrong. That's a very weird experience.
We spoke Spanglish. But, so I just, after that, my 2 sons don't speak Spanish. We just never taught them. When we wanted to talk something in private, we talked to Terry in Spanish, and they didn't know what we were talking about. So I think that was our little secret to each other, that we wanted to talk in front of them, but not for them not to know what we were saying.
Yeah, that's what my dad said his parents did. They didn't want them to know.
It's funny how we did that. I wish we hadn't, because we deprived them of the two languages. Like I could speak both, so my Spanish came in very handy when I was working, and so.
What was your work?
I was in sales, international sales, part-time, not traveling, but in the office, international sales, and so we did a lot of business with the South America countries. So Mexico and South America, all over. So
What did your father do?
my father was a barber.
Oh, cool.
Him and his brother were both barbers, and he retired as a barber.
Is the barber shop still there in the valley?
Oh no, it was his barber shop was downtown,
Oh.
down on First Street. He used to go to work on First Street. He had there was a shoemaker shop in the front, and my dad's barber shop was in the back. He was renting a space in the back from this man that owned the shoe shop, and that's where his business was.
At First and do you remember the cross street?
Close to Tijeras, First and Tijeras, just a little north of about 4 doors down from Tijeras Boulevard, and it was right First Street. Now all the old businesses there, like the Victory Bar was one of the famous ones I remember, and I can't remember the name of the grocery store that was right on the corner. It was an Italian name because there were a lot of Italians down in that area at that time.
So what was it like growing up in the South Valley? That was in the 40s?
Yeah, in the 40s, yeah, born 36. So, I mean, we had a big gardens. We ate everything we grew. Everything was organic in those days. And we had 2 large alfalfa fields. We had cornfields. We had cows and pigs and chickens, goats, rabbits, and that was our food that we would use to sustain ourselves. Because my dad didn't make enough money with 11 kids. It's pretty hard, but we ate everything that we grew. We had a big orchard also right next door to our property. We had a big orchard.
Wow.
And we had just about all the fruits in that grow good in New Mexico: apples, peaches, plums, cherries, grapes. So, yeah.
So that's because your grandfather originally had this quite a bit of land.
Yeah.
And then you all had houses.
Yeah.
The sons or children.
Yeah.
And all sort of together. So you were all able to work together to like maintain the gardens and the fields and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Everybody pitched in.
Yeah, we had a plow and a couple of horses to plow our land, and at the alfalfa fields, they maintain themselves really. Once you get them planted and you got alfalfa, so we had 2 alfalfa fields there. We had a big tripod in our back with a big kettle where we boil water and butcher the hogs, and would hang the beef up on there, and they'd kill it and bleed it, and we had a big matanza.
What's that?
That's where you kill the animal that you're eating. They call it a matanza. I'm surprised you never heard of it.
Mm-mm.
Ask your dad about what a mata.
Well, he grew up like in the city. I don't know if he would know.
Yeah, so yeah, we had them. We didn't have them for people. Nowadays, they have matanzas, and I mean the whole neighborhood's always invited, and they have big parties and all that for them. Where we just our own. My brothers and my father, my grandfather. Not my grandfather, my father, and my older brothers, my brother Jerry, and his real name was Rinconcito, but everybody called him Jerry. And my brother John was the next one, and then my brother Tom, then my brother Joe, and my brother Alberto, and there were 8 boys and 3 girls.
Wow.
So
it was just like a big party to celebrate.
Well, it
like
wasn't a party.
You had new meat?
It was a job. It was a work. And
so it was the process of all the things that you had to do to process.
To process the meat and get it. And then we had to sell her, so we take all our My mom would can everything, tomatoes, everything, and would store it in the center for the winter. And everything was down there for us to, our food for the winter.
Because you would have fresh meat like that day, probably like a really yummy meal.
No, we didn't have fresh.
didn't eat
We
any
didn't
right
have
then.
refrigerators.
So
The
you
only-
dried all of it.
Dried a lot of it,
Okay.
and then that would buy some fresh meat, but not a lot. We used a lot of dry food, dry meat from the animals.
Did you have to smoke it to dry
Oh
it?
no, they didn't.
Or you used
They didn't do smoking in those days that I know of. You know, they might have, but we didn't.
So they dried it using like salt?
I don't remember exactly how they dried it. You know, when by the time I got to where I was doing anything like that, I wasn't involved in it. 'Cause I was the last of the Mohicans.
You're the on the young end of your siblings?
I'm
You're the youngest?
I'm the youngest, yeah, of 11.
Oh wow. Okay. I'm the youngest of 6, so I know
s-
where everything's kind of already happened by the
Yeah.
time you come around.
Yeah, by the time I came around, all this other stuff, I remember it vaguely, you know, 'cause I was little and I was there, but as far as participating in it, no, I didn't ever participate in it. But I remember everything, more or less, things about it, what we did, what they did. And we had a big chicken coop. We had a lot of eggs, and we always had fresh eggs. We had 2 cows, so we always had fresh milk. And we used to just milk the cows and sit there and drink it from the cow. In those days, you know.
So did you eat your meals just with you and your siblings and your parents, or did everybody kind of come together for meals?
No, we just mostly whoever was living in the house, whoever was there that hadn't left the house yet.
Yeah, because you're probably a lot of your siblings were gone by the time you.
Yeah, my sister, Ayala, she lived up a few houses up the street east of where we lived, and she was married to a man named Ambrosio Herrera, and he was a bootlegger. He made wine and beer in his backyard, and but he used to have epilepsy, and he died very young. And Ambrosio and my sister Ayala had 3 kids, 2 girls and 1 boy. And after she passed away, she had to go to work. So we took over they came to live with us part-time, off and on. When my sister was at work, they'd stay with us, the 3 kids. So the youngest was, when my brother-in-law died, Ambrosio, the youngest one was 6 months old, Charlie.
So you had, when you were growing up, you had like aunts and uncles pretty close by.
Oh, yeah, my uncle Mag, Madaleno, my tío Lucinquín, my Aunt Emilia, and they all lived in that on Gonzales Road there. Some of the houses are still standing there, and some of their kids lived there, but I don't remember exactly where.
And what did they do for a living?
My dad's brother Madaleno, he was a barber also, but then he was kind of into politics a little bit, and then he owned there was a club on there on Central Avenue before you go up to the west side. It was called the Chesterfield Supper Club, and he bought that out. And he owned that and ran that for quite a few years. But he always getting into politics and that. But my Uncle Lucinquín, I don't know what he did. He died at a younger age. I was a lot younger when he passed away, so I don't remember what he did. I don't know any of his family.
So back then, how would you get from the valley like to downtown? Is
We
there a
walk.
bus or you walk?
Or take a bus, but most of the time we'd walk. go up. We only led the mile. Our Gonzales Road's only a mile south of Central. Uh, so
Oh wow.
so we would walk up Sunset Road, which was next right off of Gonzales, on and that ran into Central, and Gonzales intersected with Sunset, and then we'd walk up there. We'd walk across the river, and then from there we would cross a ditch there, and then walk through the golf course to downtown.
How often would you go into downtown?
Usually about maybe once a week. We got a quarter on Sundays to be able to go to a movie,
Oh,
and we could go for a quarter. We could ride the bus it was only a nickel, and the movie was only like a dime, and then candy and popcorn and all that was, nickel pennies. They had all kinds of penny candy that we could buy, and so we'd walk and go to the movies, and then when we left, we'd walk home, because we saved the money from the bus fare, so we could spend it on candy and
Sure.
popcorn.
no fools.
Yeah. So, but we did that for quite a while when we were smaller. And that was our treat for working the fields. We worked the gardens ourselves, and my brothers and all of us, as we grew up.
But you also went to school. So was that during like the summers that you would work, or do you have to work out
we
before
got
and
up
after school?
early and work in the fields, and then we'd go to school.
Wow.
And we'd walk to a church school, which was probably a little over a mile from our house, and we'd walk to school and walk back home. We never took a bus, so once in a while we'd get a ride with my aunt. She had a car, so she'd take us, and she was a school teacher at a church school.
Wow. So that's a mile. So were there just not a lot of schools down there?
Oh no, they're not. Actually, when I went to high school, there was only Albuquerque High, Highland, St. Mary's, and that was it. That was all the high schools here in Albuquerque.
Wow.
Eventually, they've gotten quite a few more. I don't even know how many are out there now. But in those days, there were only three high schools, and actually Highland came quite a bit later. I don't remember when, but there was only St. Mary's and Albuquerque High for many years. So everybody would come to Albuquerque. I don't know if the rural areas where they had like Belen and them, if they had their own high school or where they went to school, I don't really know.
So
I
like
can't remember.
in high school, if you wanted to go on a date or something, what would you all do?
We couldn't afford to go on dates. We just never went on dates. I never went on a date when I was in school. I'd go out. Have a car, and I did date someone. As far as I dated a couple of people, but I mean, I'd always go with someone that had a car, and we'd go out. And I dated this one girl who was Anglo, and her father was very prejudiced. And my good friend that had a car, Jimmy Eastman, he used to pick me. He'd pick me up, and we'd go and pick up the girls. And he'd have to go to the door to pick up the girl, because his name was Eastman, even though he was half Spanish and half English. But the father didn't know it because he had an English American name, So
Was there other prejudice that you had back in those days?
well, there was a lot of prejudice back in the early 30s and 40s, Not so much in Albuquerque as the smaller cities like Red River and all those other areas back north and south of Belen and all that. There was a lot more prejudice in those days.
Did you travel to those areas when you were
Now,
a young man?
when I was young, no.
Oh, okay.
we never went very far with anything.
Did you ever go back? Did you all go to Clayton to visit after you got married?
When I got married, after I married Terry, we went to I went to Clayton with her one time, and that was enough for me. Other than that, that's the only time I went to Clayton. And she went with her aunt Aurora. She would go when her aunt wanted to go down there, they would go together. And so.
Because at that time, it was probably only Tia Lucia and Uncle Tony lived there at that time, probably.
Let's see.
Well, and Emma.
Emma was the one. Emma was, I believe, Tia Aurora's daughter. I believe. I'm not quite sure.
Emma was Tia Lucia's daughter.
Who's?
Lucia.
Oh, Lucia's daughter. Okay.
Mm-hmm. She had the limp.
Lucia and Aurora were sisters.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't remember that much about them, you know. But that was the only time I went to Clayton. I met some of the other people, the family members, but as far as that were still there, but I don't remember. And it was probably 1960, close to 1970 some before we went up there. Then I went with Terry up there.
So when you went to the service, was that the first time you'd kind of been out of Albuquerque? And
oh no, I'd been when I was younger. My mom moved to California. My mom had some health issues, and they went to a doctor in Los Angeles, and we were there. I was 5 years old when we went to Los Angeles. We were there for like a year or something like that. But I don't remember too much about California either, because I didn't know other than we lived in a house there my dad rented for a while.
And where did you go when you were in the service?
I went to the Navy. I was in the Navy for 4 years of active duty, and I was aboard a destroyer for 30 months, and then I was stationed in Port Hueneme, which is the naval station there where they trained the Seabees. And my last year in the service, I got it out in 1959.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I was stationed out of San Diego, California, and from there went Long Beach, but we went all over Japan, Korea, Formosa, Thailand, different countries over there, Hong Kong. Got to see quite a bit of the Far East.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, Hawaii and Philippines.
So when you were growing up in the Valley, did you all have any kind of traditions, like for holidays? Like, what did you do for Christmas?
Oh,
Made bizcochitos.
Oh yeah, Mom. I never participated in the cooking in that, but my sister Ayala and my mom would get together and they'd make dinners and cook it with bizcochitos. And well, my mom made stacks of tortillas every day for three meals a day.
Wow.
So we ate a lot of tortillas. If we wanted bread, we used to trade when I was in school, we used to trade our tortillas for bread because we couldn't afford to buy the rainbow bread that they had here. And that's a fact.
And probably the other kids said, well, your tortillas are way better than this.
Oh yeah.
rainbow bread.
You never knew, but they loved the tortillas.
I'm
You know,
sure,
my mom
yeah.
used to make great tortillas, flour tortillas. And she did make some corn tortillas because we had a regular grinding stone for making the tortillas. My mom would grind the corn
Wow.
and make the flour for.
Because you had
corn.
grown the corn.
Huh?
You grew the corn and then she...
Yeah, we grew the corn and then we had quite a big cornfield.
Wow. So for Christmas, there's lots of cooking and then...
Cooking, we didn't exchange gifts because we didn't have any money, but we had our stockings. We had a fireplace in our house, so we'd hang the stockings up there, and they got fruit in there, and usually gum and fruit and candy, and that's about it. No toys. We may used to make our own little toys, out of little cars and stuff. We'd make them ourselves and have our own little toys. I don't remember too much about it, what we did, what kind we used to, but that's what we did. We never had bicycles. We used to go to the junkyard, get parts from the junkyard, and build our own bikes.
Wow.
So to have a couple of bikes around.
Did you go to midnight mass Christmas Eve?
No. Most of the time we went to just a regular daytime mass that I remember. I don't remember if we went. Terry and I went to midnight mass when we were married sometimes, but most of the time we went to morning services. Mm-hmm. And I was an altar boy. My brother James and I were altar boys at our church. So
you had a job to do.
Yeah, we had a job to do. That's when I knew a little bit of Latin.
Ooh. Was that back when? I guess that was when it was in Latin, huh?
Yeah, it was in Latin. Yeah, mostly in Latin. There's some English, but most of it was in Latin.
That's so wild.
I'd say 90% of it was Latin.
And did you all know when it was in Latin? Did you know what was being said, or you just it just
more
was
or less? I can't remember that. I can't answer that truthfully because I don't remember. I knew what they meant at the mass. It just made common sense. Just told you, what you knew about God. You knew about the Eucharist, and then they call it they called it the host because they didn't call it the Eucharist. Mm-hmm. But just what I learned there at the church from the priest. We had a good priest.
Because did you have to learn like catechism and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, we went to catechism. We went to we got baptized, and we went to our first Holy Communion. Somewhere I have pictures of that, and
did you pray at home?
I'm sorry?
Did you pray at home as a family?
Oh yeah, we just played around the yard at home. We wouldn't go out much. We were always working the gardens and the fields. We used to have to bring water from the irrigation ditches. We have to make our own little ditches to get water to our fields. So we have to keep those all clean. So we'd always be cleaning them out as with all the leaves. Down the valley, there's so many elm trees that, you have a lot of leaves, especially in the fall. Mm. So we used to have to keep all that clean. And my dad was very, very strict about keeping the land clean.
Yeah, I think I need to have a whole episode just on acequias because I don't think I totally understand. You have the river, and then there are the acequias that come off of the river.
There's one main acequia that comes off of the river, and then it branches in on the street that we lived on Gonzales Road. There's two acequias in that area from one between our properties and the between the acequias and that we lived in the middle of part of it, and that one acequia is where we got our water, and the people west of us on the other side got the water from there. So the people east and the middle part of Gonzales area there, our water came from what we call the irrigation ditch, and it came off of the main ditch that came off of the Rio Grande. And then as a matter of fact, when we were young, that's where I learned how to swim in the little irrigation ditch. My brothers threw me in the water and said, swim or drown. So I learned how to swim. But we would go down there and take baths. We'd take soap with us and bathe in the acequia.
That was probably easier than filling up the bucket.
We used to have to fill galvanized. We had like 3 different galvanized tubs that would be filled with water for bathing and rinsing and washing.
But you were the youngest, so doesn't that mean that you went
Oh
first?
yeah, well, that's why they called me Blackie, because I was the last of them. By the time I got in the water, it was black. That's a joke.
I thought it was. I've always heard the youngest got to go first.
No, the youngest went last.
Oh, I think my
no.
dad.
In our family,
Okay.
I was the most treated young one in the world. I wasn't really, never mistreated, but I'm just saying that when you're the last one, you wait till the end.
I think
You
in my
stand in
dad's
line, you always stand in the end.
Wow, then that's 11, going through 11.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think my dad said, I think the youngest went first in his family, so he was the oldest, so then he had to go last.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it depended on your family.
Yeah, depending on the families.
Yeah, that water was probably no good by the time it got to you.
Oh yeah. Well, we had two of them, so it wasn't just one. There was one for bathing, two for bathing, one for rinsing.
Oh, okay.
And then to throw it away and then refill it. Mom had pots of water on the stove. Everything was wood and coal stoves. We didn't have gas. We didn't have showers for years. We only had two outhouses. Is what we had. That was our restrooms when I was growing up.
One for girls and one for boys?
No, they were girls and boys. Just which one was available. So.
Did you have to empty out houses, or did they just sort of compost into the soil?
Just build a big one, and they'd have to pump it out.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, there were two big holes dug in the ground, and we had a pump where we'd pump the water out of the ground.
Oh, really?
We didn't have running water.
Oh, okay.
Not for a while, until they put the water in the area there. And I don't remember when that was. It was quite a while before. But I remember we'd bathe in tubs, and all of the water came out of the well.
So you have to turn the acequias on, right? It's not just when the river...
What's that?
You have to turn the acequias on, or open them.
Oh, no, you just had boards. You built your own little dam with wood.
Oh.
And there were no gates. Okay. In those days, you didn't have gates per se. You just had little, you built your own gates so you could trap the water to go wherever you wanted, divert the water. We didn't have any diversion things other than the ways my dad made them, or my uncle, and for us to get the water to our fields, to our crop.
So do you think they had already dug their own ditches?
I'm sorry?
They had already dug their own ditches.
Oh, the ditches were there when I was born.
And you're just cleaning them out. You're keeping them free.
Maintained them.
Yeah.
That's all we did.
That wasn't just, did you have to wait for the river to overflow, or it was always, if you opened up your dam, it would come through?
There was always water running in that one main ditch that we got our water for our crops. There was always water in that. But see, the Rio Grande years ago, we used to get a lot more moisture than we get nowadays. The river there were a lot of times the river was overflowing. So we used to we never worried about water. We always had water. In the winter you do, a little bit, but you're not irrigating your crops. You only, you just use a lot less water for the crops that need the water for during the wintertime.
So when you were younger, did you if you got sick, what would you do? Was there a doctor or a curandera or?
No, most of the time, Mom would call someone and they'd tell them what to do, and we got cured at home most of the time. When I was in high school, I got sick, and I had a very bad stomachache. It turned out that I had an appendicitis attack, and then that we had there was a hospital. It was called the doctor's hospital, and that's where I had my appendix removed. I was I believe a sophomore in high school when I had that done. So that would have been 1952, 53, somewhere around there. But that's the only time that I remember going to any hospital or anything when I was a younger kid. But most of the other time we get a cut or something. My brother broke his arm, fell off the horse when him and I were riding a horse, and we used to ride bareback. So he fell off and broke his arm, and they took him to the doctor somewhere, but I don't know where, to get his arm reset because his elbow popped out from one side to the other, so he landed on his elbow. So, but other than that, the home remedies. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, we didn't have anybody that got real sick.
Did you grow herbs in your garden too?
Spinach grew wild right there. We call it calitas. Mm-hmm. And Mom, we'd go out to get the spinach. Mom make a batch of calitas for dinner, and so and then everything else that we ate, herbs and all that, they grew. My mom and dad, my mom and my sister.
To make like a tea or.
I'm sorry?
To make tea or.
Oh yeah, to make tea. I'm not a tea drinker. Never have been. Even since they used to boil, make yerba buena. I'm sure you heard of that. It's it's a mint.
Mint, right? Yeah.
And well, they put something in it. I don't know what. And that's what they would give us when we had a fever. Mm-hmm. So, and I got so sick of that stuff when they forced it down my throat. I can't stand tea now. To these days, I still don't drink tea. And Terry was a big, big tea drinker. So
I am too.
Yeah, she quit drinking tea later on after we were quite a few. Well, I don't know how old she was maybe 60 when she quit drinking tea. She started drinking hot water, boiling water. That's what she drank instead of tea.
Because she just got sick of tea?
She just, one day, I think it was like a nicotine habit, She just got tired of it. Or like when you smoke and you get tired of smoking, you just quit smoking.
Well, I haven't quit yet. I'm still going.
You're still smoking?
No, drinking tea.
Terry never smoked. She never smoked. I smoked a lot,
oh,
especially
really?
when I was in the service.
Oh,
I smoked a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you're in the service, you have so much time. When you're out in the middle of the ocean, on board a ship, you have time for just don't have anything to do. So everybody would sit around, smoke, and tell jokes, and play cards, and that's about it.
Yeah, my dad never smoked because his mother smoked, and then she would have him light her cigarettes on the stove, and so he'd have to breathe it in, and from a young age, and hated it, so he never smoked.
Like it, yeah, we I think all of us smoked at one time or other. My mom smoked till she was 72, and then she threw her pack away and never smoked another cigarette. And she died when she was 92.
Wow.
But she had hardening of the arteries and some other issues, health issues. But my mother started smoking when she was 5, because she used to roll her mother's cigarettes for her, and she would light them and then give them to her mother. So she got hooked at that age.
Gosh.
So from 5 to 72.
Wow.
She smoked.
But she lived to 92.
And she lived to 92. But in those days, most of the tobacco was a lot cleaner than what they have nowadays. They put all these preservatives and all this other stuff in the growth of tobacco that you don't know what you're getting anyway.
Yeah. Oh, there's all kinds of crazy
Oh
stuff
yeah,
in
there's
there.
kinds of. So I mean, it's just like food,
Yeah.
Yeah. In those days, we didn't get sick that much because everything we ate was organic. We didn't spray our crap.
Mm-hmm. And you had lots of exercise and fresh air and.
We exercise. We didn't have time to exercise. Our exercise.
Well, your exercise was you were
working
working.
in the actually working the fields.
Yeah.
That was the exercise you got. By the time we went to bed, we were dead tired.
Mm-hmm.
So
What happened to your? So you were the youngest, and then after you left, how did your parents maintain their land and their all of that?
my parents moved because my dad had a heart problem. He had to move to a lower altitude, so they moved in 1959. They moved to California. They lived in Merced, and then finally settled in San Bernardino until, and then they both lived in Victorville, where my sister moved when she retired from the school board. She went to California to take care of them, so she stayed with them, and then bought a home in Victorville that had a mother-in-law's quarters or whatever they call it, and that's where my parents lived until they passed away.
So then what happened to your house that you grew up in?
Oh, my dad sold a house in 1950 to where we grew up in the valley, and we moved up to the west side called the Lavaland Edition up there on 56th Street. We lived there, 57th Street. And from 57th to Coors, there was nothing. The Cutter Car Airport was way back there, and the Answers had their garage way out there. But other than that, there was nothing but there. And now it's all full all the way.
And so when you moved out there, it was just a regular house? You didn't have the
just a regular
gardens
house. We had a garage. And
so did they just save up their money to do that? Or, I mean, that's
well,
a real change in lifestyle.
Yeah, they had savings. And then they sold the house in the valley. And in 1950, the house where, I don't know what the people that paid for, bought the house were. I don't remember exactly who they were that bought my dad's house when we moved out.
And so by that time, you were 14?
Yeah, I was already high school.
So yeah, and you were the youngest, so they probably were looking to, okay, now we don't have to.
And then I went into the service, and when I got back, they had, we were still living on the west side, and then I decided to get married in 1959, and they were going to go to California, but I was going to get married, so I didn't go. So I got married July. I lived with my sister Ayala for a while. Before I got married, and then after I got married, I just moved into our own home, which was on 56th Street. We had a house there. Come in.
I heard there was a party going on here.
Yeah, okay. Can we stop it?
Yeah, I think we're good. Thank you so much for
Okay,
doing
you're
this.
welcome. God bless you.
I thought of a few questions after I left Blackie, so I called him a little while later with some follow-ups. Well, I have a couple of follow-up questions that I wanted to ask you from last time.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I remember you talking about your home where you grew up by the river.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, how did you all get wood?
How did we get wood?
For fires or...
Oh, I really don't remember how we got wood. We had coal and wood stoves. I remember that my dad and his brother used to go all the way up. That was probably before I was born, though. They used to go all the way from Albuquerque to Carnuel by they had a wagon, and they'd go chop wood, load it up, and come to Albuquerque. But
where was that?
I really don't remember when I was growing up. I know we still had wood and cold. But how we got it, I really have to be honest, I don't remember.
Where did you say they went to go get it with the wagon?
It's in Carnuel, it's just east of Albuquerque.
Oh, okay.
Up the hill.
Okay.
And, these two little areas there, and they go with her, my brother, my dad and his brother would go up there. That's about all I can remember of that. But
Okay.
as far as when we were down on the farm there and on the Gonzales Road, I can't remember how we got our wood home.
Okay, and then I got your recipe about how to make tortillas.
Uh-huh.
And so once you put all of that together, then how do you actually cook it? Do you put it in a cast iron skillet or how do you cook it?
No, the best way to do it is buy a comal. You know what a comal is?
Uh-huh.
Okay, buy a comal because the skillets don't work as good. Buy a cast iron comal, and they sell them at Albertsons.
Oh,
So, because I know I bought some for a couple of friends of mine, and the old ones are better. Or if you know someone that has a old coal or wood stove, the lids from that work all right. If you have, that'd be better if we had gas. If you have an electric stove, you can't put them on an electric stove. But the lids from coal or wood stove, we used to have. But I've always, basically, since I've been making it, or my wife and me, we always used to go by.
and do you put down like butter or some kind of oil?
Well, you can spray in light, non-stick oil on your combine and cook it at a medium-high speed temperature. If you lay it in there and it waits for it to start bubbling, then you can flip it over.
Okay.
That makes them a little lighter that way,
Okay.
as far as not very heavy. And I don't make them very thick. I don't like thick ones.
Okay. And
So it just depends on. And you want kind of nice and soft. You don't want a real dry, very dry dough. So if you use that, I think I told you 1/3 cup of water. If you use that water for 4 cups of flour, it comes out very good.
Okay.
And you may have to add a little bit more if it's a little dry, but it's funny how that varies, when you're making the dough. For some reason, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's so much drier where you are. I bet it'll be different where I make it.
It might be, but you want the nice stuff like not quite like as soft as a marshmallow, about the things. I'm using that for an example that I can think of. Is the texture to make it easier for you to roll.
Okay. And what do you use to roll it? Like a rolling pin or something else?
No, I use just a rolling pin, but I have my own rolling pins that I made for my wife. I just made up out of that little round wood. You buy it at the lumber companies, and then just cut them to about 8 inches, and then try to clean them real good. Well, you sand them very good, so it'll be real fine.
And you wanted to make your own to get the right length of it?
I'm sorry?
You wanted to make it your own so that it would be the right length?
Well, yeah, that's kind of like that. I don't like the big ones that they sell for. They're too big for my hands, my little hands. So I use them. A lot of people don't mind using the bigger ones, but I prefer the smaller ones because that's what I learned from Terry how to make them.
Okay. Now you told me a saying in Spanish about keeping your mouth shut so that the flies don't get in. Do you remember what that saying is?
Boca boca cerrada no entra mosca. If you keep your mouth shut, the flies don't get it.
Do you
For people that like to put their foot in their mouth, kind of like me.
do you have any other favorite sayings like that in Spanish?
Oh, not in Spanish. I don't really have that many. I can't think of anything off of it. Anymore, my brain doesn't work very well.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so it's kind of. I'm sure you know that from your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
What was the song you were telling me about that you had for Terry about how she's saving a place in heaven for you?
Oh, it's called Rinconcito in the Cielo, a little corner in the sky.
Oh.
Quiero guardar un rinconcito en el cielo, para cuando venga mi amor. That's the words start with that. But there's a lot of other words on that. It's a full song in Spanish.
Was that a song that you all had? That was one of your songs, or you just makes you think of her?
That's more or less a newer song that I heard on the radio.
Oh.
On the Spanish program.
Just makes you think of her.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's just what I think. I'm hoping that she's in little area in Albuquerque.
I bet she is. Okay, well, thank you. Those are just a couple of the questions I had left over from when we talked before.
If you can find, just look it up on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You should be able to find it.
Okay.
You get the words to it and listen to it.
Okay, I will.
Okay?
Okay, well, thank you so much. It's so good to talk to you. I'll look you up next time in Albuquerque.
Okay. Have a great week. Have a great rest of the year.
Okay, you too.
And God bless your father.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Luminaria. You can reach me at luminariapod@gmail.com. Our intro and outro music is of Varsoviana, performed by Nieves Anaya and his daughter Ernestina Anaya at Arroyo Hondo, New Mexico in 1940. It's part of the Juan Bautista Rael collection at the Library of Congress.